Hello, knife people. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in for this knife build video. Now, this is Lowry knives. It came in this packaging, Brisa, but it's not Brisa, it's actually Lowry. And I purchased this on thompsonKnives.com. I will leave a link in the description for US clients. It's a very good place to buy knife blanks. The company has very good prices for the Scandinavian Scandi Puukko style knives. They actually carry a number. They carry Brisa, Enzo's, Bear or something. There's quite a few manufacturers, but what I wanted to get and make is one of these differentially heat treated Lowry high carbon knives, and to make a Puukko out of it. So LPT stands for the series of knives that have this differential heat treatment, which I'm not sure if you're able to tell that here there is a barely distinct line going down, which differentiates the edge side is about 60-61 HRC, and the back is lower. If I remember correctly, it's 58, maybe even lower. And there is a line that runs all the way along the edge. Once built and cleaned up, see if you see that line right there. So this comes just like so in this Brisa packaging. Today what I'm using for the handle is boxwood. Boxwood is widely considered to be one of the most expensive woods actually. It is extremely dense, very heavy, and there is actually jewelry made out of this wood as well as some other, but you don't use it for furniture or any such due to the fact that the wood does not grow huge, and it is a very slow growing wood, hence the density of the fibers in it. It burns and spoils drill bits. It's a wood that strong that it will heat up and burn your drill bit. It burns up, as you can see. This is from sanding on the on this grinder here. Immediately it burns. It's not like I'm trying to hold it for a long time. Right when you put it on, it's so dense, it's just like bone, and it burns regardless of how much you move it around. So for the handle, there's a rough outline. What we will have is, first I went out and purchased, instead of getting brass fittings, which on this site on Thompson's as well as on Lamnia or Varustalika, I will try to leave this website addresses, you can have a look. There are bolsters that you can purchase pre-made, but I prefer making the whole knife handle myself, so I went out and got some 2mm brass plates, cut them up, and we'll go through the process. So first we'll have this brass bolster, then we will have a layer of this micarta, linen micarta or textilite, I'm not sure, but it's really cool stuff. So the first layer after the brass will be that, and then at the end also I want to make another layer of this and a brass ending. So hence we have two brass plates. Now we'll go down to the table saw and saw this away into two pieces and start drilling the holes. I also do need to shorten this down to this line, straighten that out, and so forth. So let's go cut up some pieces now, and then we'll start drilling. Now I do have a drill press, but I want to make it with a freehand handheld drill, just to demonstrate that it is not rocket science, and almost anybody that is handy with such tools can make their own knife and that just has a different meaning and value to you. Okay, let's start cutting. Now, apologies for the bad lighting, but this is what I have to work with. That will be first line. As you probably saw, it was easier to cut the micarta than the boxwood. Here is the grain, just extremely dense. It's even for a handle, I prefer this to bone. Very good material. Some other examples of boxwood, crafts from boxwood. This cross, I made this about 15-16 years ago, and the wood is just awesome. It lasts forever. Another example, the bracelet, and this is two woods, African blackwood and boxwood, and so is this, and this is also a bracelet I made for my wife. Stretch fit, and this is all kinds of incrustations, and palisandrite is the name of this redwood, and this is all handwork. There were no power tools used in making any of this, just tiny microscopic knives. So that's how good boxwood is. Very strong wood. Now, as you saw, it was very difficult to cut with a table saw, and it was tougher than the micarta. Now I need to square off these cuts so that we can then glue, but the basic idea is it'll be stacked like so, and that is the length of this tang here. So let's square off the cuts. As I was saying, this wood burns immediately. I try to clean it off with this special rubber and everything, but it just burns off immediately. So same here. Now I will try to, this side looks okay, take off some of the burn with this sandpaper. And that also needs to be scratched up for stacking purposes so that the epoxy picks up well. Okay, so we have this middle line where I need to drill and I need to maintain a straight line. We have another one here, so let's do another line here. And another one here. So I'll make this the top, or no, let's make that the top, because there is a knot here and another one here which will look nice, so that should probably be somewhere towards the top. So now I need to trace out this shape, and I'm doing this so that that's the depth that we want to reach, not more than that, because these two will be stacked up here, so probably even higher, like so. Okay. That seems right. So I need to drill in between this area. Need to do the same here. If you're making knife handles, you definitely need a few clamps. Drilling, I have my lines here, and I need to maintain several sides, so I need to be correct laterally, vertically as well. I'll do the first hole here. It's heating up this bit to the extent that it's sizzling when I put it in the water. It is that intense. Now I'm going to lengthen it as much as I can to approximately there. So let's say we want that much at least in the drill. I hope you heard that. That's the sound that this drill makes. Now I need to start another hole here and hopefully connect it to the first one in the end. So we have that side, that will be the top side. Now we'll drill this side, the back side. Let's take a measurement. Now, if you can see through, there's still a round section in the hole, and it needs to be oval, otherwise it won't let us push through the tank. So still some widening to do. Here is where this drill bit comes in. This should now go through, and with that much length I should be able to maneuver it around and widen this enough. This is another tool that I use and it is for wood, but that's what I have, a round file. I'm through. You can see the oval shape of the hole all the way through. That's good. All of that will be filled with epoxy, 3M, very strong epoxy. So now I do need to drill, similar to this, a hole here that will be stacked, and then this part I need to also drill, so I'll start doing that now. I will also drill for the bottom tip of the tank into here, but on the, well, we'll see. Could also use like a round file to do this, because the micarta is also very dense. Round file for steel works just fine. Oh, now I need to do the bolster. Everything is now ready, cleaned with rubbing alcohol and prepped for gluing or stacking with two-part epoxy. Everything is well sanded to pick up the glue well, and what I've done is I've marked the front side as well, so I know which side is front. I'll lay them out like so, and here what I've done is textured this. There's probably a term, a specific one for this technique, but I've used this hammer, just put it on an anvil and hit it around with this hammer that I picked up on flea market, and put a handle to it. Really cool hammer, a specific one. It's not a hammer for nailing nails, obviously, hammering nails. Anyway, I shouldn't be touching this with my bare hands. I will now make my epoxy mix and start stacking this up. This is the regular type of epoxy that is usually used. It's transparent, and that's what most people use on epoxy. gluing the handles, but I use this Scotch Weld DP420 by 3M. This is extremely good stuff, and much stronger than the regular transparent epoxy. It contains micro particles that help it not bind, but just have more toughness, and it's not as fragile as the transparent resin epoxy sometimes, and that all depends, I guess, on the manufacturer and so on. I will lay down a piece of paper not to get everything dirty. I've also taped all of the blade side, so I can, even if we're dirty with epoxy, I can touch this without having to scrape anything off afterwards. And yeah, this has also been degreased by the rubbing alcohol. You want to do that to everything. So let's start. You want to leave a side open for air to escape, so that this slowly drips through. If you cover the whole hole, the entire hole, the epoxy will go down slower. That's it. I will now let this dry until tomorrow, and then start shaping the handle. And I've already done one smaller. This is 85, I think, 85 millimeters, and this is 102 or something. I'll do the specs at the end, but basically this is a shorter, more stout handle. Also is slightly thicker than on the Puukko, if you can see that. This is more of a hard use knife for more cutting. Well, all of the knives are for cutting, but for whittling, and that will be for more general use. So see you at the grinder. So I'm making two Puukkos. One is slightly shorter. This will be used for harder cutting and whittling tasks, and this will be the general Puukko standard sizes. So in terms of stacking, what I've done here is, this is brass bolsters that I made myself, and you can see that in the video. And then paper micarta. This is paper G10, and this is paper burlap micarta. It'll look much nicer once I polish it up. And then on the end here I have this green G10, and here we are repeating the same burlap micarta. Now for ending this, I don't want to have micarta or G10. I prefer to have a brass butt cap similar to the bolster. So if what I've done is obviously sanding this down so that glue adheres better, and also textured all of this with this special hammer that I have, laying it down on steel and just whacking it. And this also helps for the glue to adhere better. And on the other side, just like on the bolster, I've textured it like so instead of polishing it, because if you know brass scratch is very easy, and I would rather have this type of finishing than something polished. So here we will have the polished end, but the butt cap will be textured like so. But if I just glue these butt caps on, there is a chance that if it falls or under some sort of impact, it can just pop off, regardless of how strong the epoxy is. And to strengthen that bond, what I'm doing here is, actually on both butt caps, is drilling these through and then epoxying these copper pins inside. I will also make notches on here, so that, again, the more texture you have, the better glue adheres to it. It goes into those notches and just mechanically holds it in. So I'll be doing that, and here I'll have one. Now I know where I need to drill my second hole, and I'll have two of these butt caps here, and that way I know for sure the butt cap is not coming off. For the smaller one, I'll be using this and slightly smaller, if you can see here, slightly smaller copper pins. So once I glue these down, we will then continue shaping, finalizing the shape of the handles. But generally speaking, this is what I want to go with. More a boxy shape, squared off, rather than an oval, a full oval. I always appreciate a flat spine on the handle, because that allows a large area of pressure to be put down, and when you're using the knife, most of the pressure comes down on this side and this side. And that is mechanically, when we're cutting, it's doing this, right? We're putting pressure here, and so I need thickness here and some thickness here. I will round off more on these sides, and I'll do the same with this handle. The knots came out quite nice. This is not finished, of course, but there's knots, one knot, another one, another one, another one, and here as well we have 1 and 2, not on the sides, but in the end this should come out quite nice. So I will now continue to do another hole here, and then 2 more holes here along with this brass. 1, 2, and this will remain, by the way. I may just slightly polish this, but it will remain in here, just like so, that if I'm placing it down or whatever, it's on these copper pins. There we go. Now I will epoxy that, but before I need to drill some 2 holes here as well. Now pay attention that I am avoiding the tank. The tank comes down in the middle, and these 2 holes, that's the tank hole. I've also epoxied that. The tank comes maybe 1 millimeter short of this. It ends right there. The entire tank is notched so that it holds and grabs to the epoxy well. And so I'll be doing the same here. I know where my tank is. So hole here, hole there, but the thing is the butt here is smaller, so instead of using these large pins, I'll have to use slightly smaller pins, but it will serve the same function just fine. The 3M epoxy is ready. These have been sanded down by rough grid sandpaper. You can see all scratched up. And same with this butt caps. So now I need to put the epoxy inside these holes. Let me do this and lay it to the side. Now this has dried. It came out quite well, just as I expected. So I ground down the basic shape and did these middle lines, center lines. These help when you're shaping the handle to ensure that proportions are correct and you're doing the same grinding on both sides. So I will now first finish this off and then do this handle. I'm using this grinder that's at least 40 years old, built by my dad, and none of these are appropriate for making handles, but they're sufficient, I guess, if you know what you're doing. But ideally this is done on a 72 by 2 inch belt grinder. Finished for the grinder. The rest I will just polish it up with fine sandpaper and then oil it, and the knife should be done. I might need to do a couple of indentations here for the kydex holster to grab onto. But aside from that, this is done right. And I will now switch to the other handle. I'll first do more of a boxy shape, see how that feels, and then I may continue rounding it off. Both of the handles have been contoured and finished, so at this stage I could oil it. Obviously I'm not using lacquer, I'm using oil. Just wipe it with oil several times. But before I do that, so there is a knot that has this tiny crack in there, and another one here. This does not by any means weaken the integrity of this wood. These are knots. Actually, it's harder here than elsewhere. But I do want to cover that up with epoxy and then sand it off. Same here, a huge knot. This was a hair crack which I widened with a tiny screwdriver so that I can put a bit more glue in there, and of course that will be then ground off. These markings here, there'll be two different designs. Here we'll have a center hole will be larger, and then two smaller holes on each side or up and down. And here I will have small, medium and large hole, and small, medium and large. And this will be filled with with epoxy mixed with luminescent powder, so that if you're out in the woods, or it glows at night, basically, if you leave it in the grass, you can easily find your knife. So in terms of the handle designs, more of a I don't know what to call it other than traditional Puukko shape. There are Puukkos with this shape as well, but this is considered more of a traditional shape. I wanted these two have the finger guard so that I can put it inside a kydex sheath, whereas I didn't want to make that same finger guard on this one. Hence I drilled 2 holes with a large size drill and then sanded it off with finger, basically sandpaper and finger, doing that for half an hour so that I would smooth off the edges, because everything here needs to be smooth. Same here. The shorter stockier knife has more of a wider handle and more of a girth, I guess, compared to this one. It even has a palm swell, so it goes in from the sides, whereas this is more of a boxed shape, and then these two shapes. Both are extremely comfortable, but I'll be testing them, obviously. I still have enough meat in here where I can contour it and change it if I like to in the future. For now, this seems to be good. And yeah, I'll be testing them. These I want to use for carving and whittling, so I'll be putting more pressure onto the blade on this knife and need more of a flatter spine than the other one. So I will now drill these holes and come back for filling it with epoxy. Here is the luminescent powder that I'm using, glow powder, Art and Glow natural green. Bought this about maybe 10 years ago. It was about this much. Been using it since then. So let's start filling the holes, shall we? There'll be one. I intentionally chose this epoxy, even though I have the transparent 2-part epoxy. I chose this because it imitates the color of the wood better than that transparent epoxy. And because the glow powder is also of light color, I thought it would be best to do it this way. You need to take your time and try to avoid having air bubbles in these holes. So take your time putting the epoxy in the hole and try to leave some gap while putting the glue in. Try to leave like this gap for air to escape, and then the glue will fill the hole. Now I will use the smallest one. Again, I want to make sure that I have glue inside that entire hole. Same here. That should be good to go. Now these holes I did quite deep, so I know that I need to wiggle this stick around, make sure that we got glue inside, filling that hole, not just covering, because there may be an air bubble in between, and that is not what we want. Now we have excess tiny air bubble. You see that air bubble in there? That one. Need to get rid of that. And then we have some excess here, and you'll understand why I'm taking this extra off now in a minute. Now I will be mixing this epoxy with some glow powder, and that is what will cover these holes, the top layer, so to say, just to demonstrate how this glows. There you go. So let's start off here. That's one. I'll worry about the flattening later. I need to put some in here. There we go. Wipe excess away. It's difficult to work with this stuff because if I move the stick away immediately or fast, the thicker part of the epoxy follows, and the thicker part is the one with the powder, which I want to stay. So now this is only one side. I still need to do the other side once this dries, obviously, and so I actually need to put a bit more in there. Like so. So I still need to do the other side, and I need to clean off the container, this one. Let this dry and then I'll do the other side. Both of the knives are now complete with their sheath. So let me start off here, I guess. As you know, they're slightly different in size and also width of the blade. I'll show you. This one will be more of a general Puukko. So what I've done here is I made these dents on both sides and then filled it with epoxy, and that helps for lateral grip as well as retention in the sheath. You see that indentation on both sides. I have a finger guard just enough to where I can bring the grip all the way up, and also on the back side on the pommel as well. So this is very secure. but I would argue that the palm swell could be slightly wider in here. But I did want to make two different shapes of handles and compare how each one of them performs in terms of exerting pressure, etc. On the pommels, as you know, I've done the texturing with a rounded hammer. On the brass pommel and butt guard, or the brass butt, whatever, which then I pinned down with these two copper pins, and these come up to about here. And so I'm now positive that this pommel will never come undone or swivel, or it's just going to be there secure. This is luminescent, but because I added some color to it, it does not glow as strong as, say, this unpainted, uncolored. I'll do the luminescent shots at the end. And here is the other one. There's two different philosophies. This would be more of a traditional style handle without guards. But as you can see, it is a thicker handle in all dimensions, but very well rounded off. So I'm expecting to be able to do more heavy tasks with this in terms of heavy cutting compared to the longer blade. As I've already mentioned, I got these blade blanks at thompsonknives.com, and I'm quite happy with the quality that I've tested so far. These are differentially heat treated, so they do have quite good edge retention. Here I've done the same, where I've pinned, and this is obviously with epoxy, same epoxy I use everywhere. So I drilled holes and put those in there, glued them in there. Let's have a quick look at the loom. There we go. Just both sides, and I've got some luminescent powder on my work mat. This is how they glow. This is stronger. This is painted, so it doesn't glow as strong, but both of the sides glow. As for the sheaths, very similar philosophy in terms of their shapes. One is a locking mechanism, one doesn't have it, doesn't really need it, and I'm all about simple sheath designs. I don't like to add holes all over the place and then pin them or screw them down. I think this is more beautiful, it's more simplistic. So I'm holding this is envelope style sheath, right? Another thing I don't like is sandwich sheaths, where you have to drill holes here as well, and then either do the eyelets or the screws, and that just gives you an unnecessarily wide and I would argue not as strong of a sheath as this, because this spine section of the kydex adds a lot of rigidity to the overall shape. So these sheaths are significantly stronger than the sandwich type sheaths. I always do this thumb push so that it's easy to extract the knife with one hand. And the main retention points here would be these round pinch grip holes. Sorry, that's not the sheath. So you put that in, it snaps, and zero wiggle. We have a somewhat of a dangler, obviously made out of the same material. So this dangles on your belt, oversized belt also. So you can use it on almost any type of belt. So quite happy, don't need a locking mechanism. This is in there very securely. No way this is coming out. Also, this is 0.6 inch, 0.06 inch kydex, which I'm using for the first time. I'm usually using 0.08, which is slightly thicker than this. And in the case of the larger knife, same concept, retention dents in here and snaps in. Very strong retention, but still it's a larger knife, and I like to add a locking mechanism, so this is much harder to take out. You can still yank it out, but and then here with a push of your thumb you can unsheath the knife. Same dangler, I try to size it to the pommel, so that this, when you're wearing on your belt, does not dig into your belt, into your side, sorry. Same here. So this is it. Quite happy with how they came out. I will be testing them in the woods. I will probably test both of them at the same time, but when I do usual carry, I'll only carry one along with a larger blade. Thank you very much. I hope you liked the video and found it interesting, and if so, please take a minute to give this video a like, subscribe for more content like this, and have a good one. Thank you.